So let's talk about formats. Obviously, this field can get very confusing, so I tried to make this video very condensed and right for you so you would get only what you need in order to get the work done. Then we're going to focus on two main components. What is spatialized sounds and formats? Now, in order to understand what is spatialized sound, we first need to understand what are audio channels. Let's start with a monochannel, which is just like a one source of audio. And then we have stereo, which is two channels of audio, most commonly used as left and right? Most music is exported on two channels of audio. Now, the thing about stereo is that now it's easier to simulate a location between those two dots, meaning a two-dimensional sound source, in a say. Think physically for a moment as an audio channel, just like a source of audio. The more channels you have, the more information you have to work with. But audio channels doesn't have to carry one specific sound. They can carry an audio capture of a location in space, kind of like an ambient sound, for example. However, with only two channels of audio, we don't have a lot of space to move. And that's where surround sound come into the system. With the birth of luxurious living rooms all over the US and movie theaters, we've seen surround sound come into the picture. Usually carries between 5 to 8 audio channels. In that case, you can look at an audio channel just like a speaker, and then we position them around the viewer. So what's the difference between surround sound and spatial sound? Great question. Simply put, surround sound is more for movie theaters and spatial sound is for VR. So we can get a physical representation of the sound field around us within the headset. Because some spatial sound formats are carrying HRTFs, which are head tracking information, which then allows the head tracking system to give us a two channels stereo representation of the sound around us based on the spatial sound, which carries usually 4 and more audio channels. So until VR movie theaters will be famous all around the world, surround sound is not really applicable for VR. It's only spatial sound. But important to say that you might have heard the term spatial sound in a few different places and it meant a few different things, like maybe in sound baths or under domes or even in music festivals. In that case, it's usually music that is being created spatially all around the audience instead of in front of the audience, usually being used with 8 channels or more, which is really great, not completely what we're talking about. You also have spatial sound microphones, which we'll get into in just one second. Now, when we're talking about spatial sound, there are two main components that we want to keep in mind. First is the format, and second is the number of channels in the file, which also known as the order. You might have heard the term first order ambisonic or second order ambisonic or third order. So in that case, ambisonic is the format in which the file is being written, and the order points on the number of channels being used. First order is 4 channels, and this is the most commonly used spatial sound for distribution. So now when we understood what order means, let's talk about format. Format is the way that the file is being written, which is affecting the relations between the audio channels. For example, you have the quad binaural audio, which is what the 8-ball Here 360 is recording on. And if you will look at this sound recorder, you will understand what quad binaural means. It means 2 ears representations to 4 directions. Quad binaural. And that makes it spatialized by itself because it's recording from all dot positions. Ambisonic sound carries HRTF, which is head-related transfer functions, which is basically put information that spatialized those audio channels for us. So then when we are in the headset, the head tracking system, either if it's our headset or our computer, knows to give us this 2 ears representations from all the channels around us. Same way that the hand tracking system gives you only the visual that you're looking at from the whole 360 video. Okay, so now when we got some terminology out of the way, let's talk about what it is that you really need to know in order to get the game going. So let's start with distribution. We have two main distributors that have affected the field. We have YouTube and Facebook. Both are working with ambisonic format, but Facebook works with 8-channel and YouTube works with 4-channel, meaning that if you will upload a YouTube encoded video into Facebook, you won't be able to hear the sound and vice versa. So, just important to know that when you're encoding, you encode to the right output. By the way, in that case, YouTube is using first order ambisonic and Facebook is using second order ambisonic, although you would find second order ambisonic mostly defined as 9 channels, but we'll give it to them. Also, we have the binaural and quad binaural formats, which are mainly used in microphones, which are spatial microphones. Another important point is that inside spatial sound, we have two main formats, Fuma and Ambix. Now, Fuma has been used in the beginning of VR by filmmakers, but since then has kind of disappeared since Facebook and YouTube adopted the Ambix format. So Fuma is not really being used that much. Lastly, most VR players would have no problem with first order ambisonic 4 channels, but some of them will have problems with 8 channels or more. So when you are encoding for Facebook, sometimes it's just good to have a video that it's encoded for YouTube because it's not going to work in every player. Okay, we did it. Now that we have this basic understanding about the terminology within spatial sound, I think you're ready to jump into the work. So see you in the next videos.